So it really would have been an interesting ACC schedule because the ACC was an on and off conference.
Yeah, the ACC, again, right up there with the Ivy. The Ivy was the best league, but the ACC with Syracuse and Carolina and Virginia and Notre Dame and Duke, I mean, it wouldn't shock me if, at least two of those made championship weekend. Certainly Virginia had the talent. They hadn't played to their potential. Duke was getting better and really figuring out how the pieces work. Dyson Williams is one of the more creative talents. He was getting better and better with every game, and I was really impressed with the way they responded to the Joe Robertson injury. Notre Dame certainly has the pieces. I mean, they can run with you. Brian Costabile, Connor Morin. They've got a lot of good pieces in their top six, top nine offense. And certainly they had a young goalie in Liam Ensigman, who kind of goes back to the great Notre Dame goalies that were responsible for their ascension, Scotty Rogers and the Kemps. So Notre Dame, to me, had the pieces as well. And Syracuse, Carolina. I thought Carolina was maybe the second best team of the ACC, to be honest with you.
The way they
played. But again, some of the same things that apply to Syracuse apply to UNC outside of Denver. Carolina really haven't been that tested. And Denver, when the season ended, Denver was probably the third best team in the Big East at that time. So, again, a lot of lacrosse to play out that we never really got a chance to see evolve.
Yeah, that's the big question. And when you look forward for this Syracuse team, obviously the big question we're still waiting on is how many of these seniors are coming back. A lot of it depends, but let's say Syracuse gets to bring one of them back. You get to pick one of these seniors for Syracuse to bring back. Who are you picking and why?
Good question. I'd probably go Drake Porter. I think Porter is the most irreplaceable guy in terms of you don't have another player that good and that ready and that capable of filling what's now become a much more crucial spot in college lacrosse. If you go back even a couple of years before the shot clock, look at Duke. Duke won 3 championships with average to below average goalie play.
Yeah.
Brian Balcom, nice kid, great kid, made some big saves in a big spot for North Carolina. Nobody would confuse him for an All-American. He was a national championship goalie at UNC, right? Dan Morris won a championship at Maryland. He was not as good as the guys that came before him, Nico Amato and Kyle Bernlohr. But in the age of the shot clock and where goalies are going to face more shots and being able to make saves, and not just make saves, but now create transition for you, goalies are starting to come back. Quint and I used to have this conversation. Years the goalies got starting to come back, and Syracuse has a top 3 goalie, and we're now in an age where that position matters more than it has at any time in the last 10, 12 years. And so I'd bring back Porter probably first and foremost.
It's also the stability that he brought to specifically the goalie position for Syracuse. I mean, they had gone between so many guys over the last 3-4 years.
He's the best they've had since Galloway. He's the best they've had since Galloway, and I love Evan Malloy, but frankly, it's not close.
Taking a broader view at the spectrum of college lacrosse, the story everybody's talking about is what's happening with the Ivy League, the fact that they're not budging on their graduate transfer rule. So we're seeing a lot of these top Ivy seniors. Like you said, a lot of people thought it was the best league in college lacrosse, and people are now either going pro or going onto the transfer market. What do you make of that whole Ivy League situation?
You got to scale it back and step outside the sports bubble. So what the Ivy League is telling its students is, we don't want you to withdraw from school, because if you're an undergrad who hasn't finished your degree, you're not going to be able to come back and then play another year, and now you're going to go finish your degree somewhere else. 10, 15 years from now, an Ivy League degree will carry, and an Ivy League degree will take you far. And I think the schools, in a lot of ways, are protecting students from maybe short-term impulses, right? If you're a kid at Yale or you're a kid at Princeton and you know what, I'm going to withdraw from school, and now the school says, no, we don't want you to do that. The reason they don't want you to do that, it's not really more about playing. It's they want you to graduate with an Ivy League degree. Yeah. And in the long run, that's going to have more value than playing another year of lacrosse. Now, in the short term, when lacrosse is your universe and it's your world, that may be hard to digest. You want everything. Hey, why can't I get my degree? Why can't I play another year? I get it. The Ivy's not going to budge. But again, this has always been a league where it's been academics first. Does it stink for the seniors? It absolutely does. You wish Michael Sowers could have led Princeton back to the tournament, maybe a championship weekend. You wish you could have seen the guys at Yale and T.D. Erlin, maybe have a chance to win a national championship and finish his career. And we're debating Baptista Erlin, who's the greatest face-off guy of all time. And heck, we still are, and we still will. But I think the Ivy gets it that, hey, a degree from our universities will last you a lifetime. A lacrosse season is just that. It's one season. And yes, it's terrible. You don't get to say goodbye. You don't get to go out on your own terms. You may have to finish up elsewhere as a grad student. But that degree is going to matter so much more in the long run. So I think in some ways it's a protective measure against some of these kids' instant impulses, if you will. Because, again, the Ivy's always been about academics first and foremost. And it's staying on brand right now. So does it really surprise me? No, it really doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, the whole withdrawing thing started because the rumor was that Michael Sowers was planning on doing that, a la Rob Pinnell,
Right.
before it came out with that. So now we're at a spot where suddenly college lacrosse has its biggest free agent of all time because the presumed Tewaaraton favorite, Michael Sowers, is transferring as a grad transfer, which is something unprecedented in college lacrosse.
Well, you've now seen 3 years in a row. I mean, it was T.D. Erlin a couple of years ago when he went to Yale. Then I guess it was last year. And this year it was Chris Gray and Scanlon. And now it's going to be Sowers. You're talking about a transcendent guy that when he steps into the locker room and he steps onto the field for any team, he makes them an instant contender. And really the only thing missing from Sowers' resume is winning and postseason success. So I would expect him to go to a program that, one, has a top-tier graduate program, and two, offers him a chance of winning a championship. Because even in the pantheon of Princeton greats, Michael Sowers, Tom Schreiber, individually, they might have been better than any player that ever wore a Tigers uniform. But for the Princeton fan base and for the Princeton lineage and legacy, they're still going to look at the Hubbards and the Hesses and the Boyles and the Bacigalupos in a different light because those guys won. And they won big. And they won national championships. And, again, Schreiber played in one NCAA tournament. Sowers hasn't even played in an Ivy League tournament game, right? So, to me, if legacy is important, again, if legacy is the driving factor in wanting to play for a championship, then I expect him to go to a program that you see on TV a lot. I expect him to go to a program that has been a mainstay at championship weekend and has some tradition and has the roster and the supporting cast that can help him get there.
And really, I mean, it's pure speculation, but it's pretty easy to connect the dots, at least for Michael Sowers to Syracuse. That's something that might happen. A team that, again, finished the season on top of the country. Syracuse's offensive coordinator, Pat March, was just hired away from Princeton. What would it mean for Syracuse if Michael Sowers says, all right, I'll come play in the Dome next year?
If Michael Sowers joins the team, the narrative transitions from championship weekend or bust to championship or bust. Michael Sowers on that team with Scanlon coming back, with Curry, with Dordovic, possibly Trimboli, Mellon, but here's some other pieces there. If Porter comes back, if Kennedy's back, all of a sudden this is a team now that becomes not just a favorite, but the overwhelming favorite. And if Sowers would go to Duke with the, again, addition of Brennan O'Neill and the Kai Montgomery coming back and pieces, Duke has coming back, Joe Robertson back from injury, Duke becomes the big favorite to go to championship weekend. Same if he goes to Virginia or any of the other contenders. But Syracuse, again, with the chance to add not just Sowers, but you're bringing in Owen Hiltz. And from the folks that I've talked to, I'm told Owen Hiltz is as much of a game-changing recruit as Brennan O'Neill. And O'Neill's one of the big recruits to come to the college game, maybe since the Brattons. And Hiltz isn't too far away from Brennan O'Neill. And I'm talking about, again, coaches, people within the game whose eyes and instincts I trust, who have told me Hiltz is this good. He's a different type of Canadian. So you're bringing Sowers. there is again, real chance that you're talking about 2021 Syracuse with a chance to, again, not just win a championship, but to do it in a dominating kind of fashion and to be one of the best teams that this great program has seen.
The Syracuse teams of old, you don't invoke the late 1980s teams without good reason, but that's exactly right. And Owen Hiltz, the number 3 recruit at Inside Lacrosse, Pat March got him. He flipped him about a month after getting to Syracuse. So there's definitely the chance he gets Sowers as well.